Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode. I think we're on like episode 11, maybe. It might be in 12, but I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But today is going to be, well, probably will be a shorter video than our previous ones. It might be about 10 minutes, maybe even shorter. But today we are going to focus on fixing one thing and just one thing only. So if you watched the previous video, you would have heard me saying that in today's video we're going to focus on, I think it was trying to fix the camera movement, as well as trying to figure out why when we load in our second level, our player cube, the one that you control, is not being positioned in the correct location. So we are going to go and do one of those things today, and that is try and fix the player cube position, so that when you load in each level, it goes and puts the cube in the correct location. We're not going to work on the camera movement now because I want to try something else with the camera later on, maybe in one of the next episodes. So we're going to forget about that for now, and then we're just going to focus on the one thing today. So let's jump into here straight away and try and get it done. So if you look here, this is where we left off in not yesterday's, the previous episode, I believe. But here's our cube at the moment. For our first level, it's not really working, or it's not working at all, because we're not calling our method to go and load on the next level. Or we are, but not no, actually we're not. We're just instantiating the first level over here as soon as the game loads. But because we're not calling this next level, it's not going and putting the cube in the correct place. The reason why it's being put in the correct place now in the first level is because the cube itself is situated at the correct location before the game even starts up. And that is because before we deleted our initial level, our first level, we had our cube at that location, as well as having the first maze at this location, so we don't have to move our cube. So we want to go and change that, just in case we want to change up our first level later on in the game. So we'll do that, but first let's go and figure out why once we complete our first level. So if we do that now quickly, once we go ahead and complete our first level and then click on the next level, you can see that if we go to our scene and click on our cube, it's not being positioned correctly. It needs to be over here at z equals 3 and not 2.5 where it was before when we launched the first level. So that is what we're going to figure out today. So I have a feeling I know what to do, but let's go and have a look and see what's happening in our code. So the start method is obviously being called at the very first, when the game gets launched, the first frame. Then we have our next level method here, which is responsible for instantiating our new scene, new level, which is this line of code here. But it's not positioning the cube in the correct place. So we're going to go through this code here and just see what it does step by step. So when we go ahead, and here's our canvas, our level complete panel is on there, and here's our next level button. So whenever we press this button, we call our next level. Okay, so let's go in here. So when we call our next level, there's a few things we want to do. The first thing is we want to go and delete the previous level, the one that you've just completed, which we're doing. So this is going to be destroy current level. And then what are we doing next? Then we are going to get the level starting point. So this is where we are going wrong. Once we've destroyed our current level, the one we've just completed, we can't then go and find a starting point because there is no level in the scene. So that's what we need to fix. So we could just move this up, or rather move this below, and then go and position the cube in the correct location after we've instantiated the second or the next level, whichever one it is. So for now, let's go and cut this out, because all of this code here, this one is responsible for finding the starting point. The next one is just finding our cube in the scene, and then the next one is going to go and position our cube in the correct location. But we can't do any of these steps unless we have actually instantiated our new level into our scene. So let's go get rid of them, and then not get rid of them, but we'll cut them so they're still on our clipboard, so we can paste them later, as long as we don't copy anything else. So what's next? So what we want to do next is we want to go ahead and increase the current the level number, because we want to go to the next level. So that's fine. Then we want to go ahead and instantiate the next level. So that's perfectly fine. We can leave that like that. And then the current level transform is equal to next level. So that is just setting the current level to the new one that we've just instantiated. And then level complete that, and then that's going to disable our panel that we go and set active, so that we can go and get to the next level. Okay, so that's fine. So now once we have once we've instantiated our next level, let us go and just paste those lines of code in. I don't expect this to work straight away, but let's go and see if it's what happens. So let's paste that in. So now that we've instantiated our new level, we can go and get our starting point, and then we can go and look for our cube, and then go and reposition our cube in the correct location. So we will leave that like that, and then let's make sure we saved that. Yeah, we have. So now let's go back to our game, and let's just see what exactly happens. Not that it will work, because obviously, why would it work the first time? Nothing ever works the first time. But let's go play the game, complete the first level. Simple, from point A to point B in 24 moves. Next level. Okay, so you can see it still hasn't really made a difference. So let's go and see what is happening. Okay, so let's go and do this. After we have found our starting point, I'm just going to go and print it out, just so we can see if we are actually getting it. Print level starting point, and then let's just save that. And then we'll start the game again. So we'll play the game, go through the first level, and then up to finish it, and then complete it. Okay, so now okay, so I wanted to print out the actual values, because this is a transform. We need to go and say level starting point dot position to print out the vector3 values of it, just so we can see, because we need the cube to be, I think it was at 3 on the Z axis. So let's go and complete this up to the top. So now we should get here we have, you can see that the Z value here is wrong. It's not really, it's not putting it at the correct location, because if we look on our second level, our level starting point, the Z value here is 3, so it's not updating that. The only reason why the X and the Y are correct is because they just are. Our cube is at that position, I think, and it doesn't really need to be changed. But if we change that, it would be wrong when loading in the new level. So let's go and figure out why. So what are we doing? We are going, I'm going to change something quickly. So once we've got our level, once we've instantiated our next level, we need to look for our next, not our next level, but we need to look for our starting point within our next level. So going to go through all the child objects of our next level, which is not what we're doing right now. So let us try and go and do that. I believe we can just simply, instead of just saying game object and looking for our level starting point, I'm just going to go and try and say next level dot find. So let's try that and see if that works. Because now that we're doing that, instead of going through the entire hierarchy, which it should really work, it will go into our level that's just been instantiated, and it does work. So it does position the cube in the correct place, because it's looking for within all of the game objects that are child objects of our next level, which in this case is level 2. It's going to go through all of these and look for the one that has the name of level starting point. And yeah, like I said in a few episodes ago, looking for game objects using string is not really the best way to do it, but it will do for now. We might change it later on in the game series, but for now it's working, so that's good enough. All right, so now what we're going to do is let's go and see over here. So this is what I was talking about at the very beginning of the episode. So when we go and start the game, you can see our cube doesn't move on the first level, and that is because it's positioned in the correct place. But I'm going to go and move it, and I'm going to go and reset it so that it's at 0, 0, 0. And now when we start the game, you can see that the cube is no longer in the maze and it's not being positioned in the, or on top of the starting point. So let's go and change that. So to do that, we can just go and create a method in our level manager here, I believe. And this can be called, let's make it move. Just something simple. Let's make it private void, if I can spell correctly, move cube. Clearly I can't type. Cube. Okay, so this method is going to be responsible for positioning our cube in the correct location, not just at the beginning of the first level, but we're going to go and change our next level method up here slightly so that we can use this method to position our cube every time we want to do that. So what are we doing in this next level to position our cube? So we are finding the starting point, and then we are looking for the cube. So I'm just going to go and get rid of that. Not get rid of it, but I'm going to copy and paste it into our move cube. Then I am... Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to get rid of this. And I'm going to put it in our start method, because we only really need to do that once in the game, because our level manager is not being destroyed, I don't think, because it should be in our managers. Yeah, so here it is. This game object here with our script attached to it is not getting destroyed, so we don't really need to look for it every single time, which I believe. I could be wrong, but we'll put it in the start method so it does it once, and then once we've got our cube, we have it. We don't really need to look for it again. So the next thing we need to do is we need to get our cube position and put it into this method. So this method here is going to be, what is it going to be? It's going to be level starting point. Okay, so because the level starting point is going to be different whenever we load in a new level, that is the vector 3 that we need to pass into the method. So here let's go and say vector 3, and this is going to be starting point, like that. Okay, and then we can just go and replace this, not this, but we can go and replace our level starting point on the z-axis and the x-axis with that. So this is going to be let's make it a transform, so we get rid of that error. Okay, so that's fine. Because we don't want the y value to change, we are just going to use the value that it's already at, so we'll leave that like that. Alright, so now when we want to go and position our cube in the correct location, I believe we can just go and say move cube with our starting, what is it, level starting point, and that's it, I think. So let's see if that works. So actually that's not going to work because we haven't done it in our start method. So I am going to call the same method here, and this is going to be move cube, and then we can pass in our current level transform, like that. So that should be fine, hopefully. We'll save that. Did I save it? Yeah, I did. So now let's go and play the game and see if this works. So here's our cube, and no, it does not work. Interesting. So let's go and see why. Okay, maybe I know. So we haven't looked for our level starting point. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change this up a bit. Let's go and get rid of our level starting point, where it's actually looking for it as a game object. We'll cut that out and we'll paste that in our method. We'll cut this out, and then we will pass in the, what is it going to be? It's going to be a transform. Yeah, we'll leave it a transform. Actually, we can just leave it the same, I think. Starting point. But we'll call this level. And then we'll replace our next level with just level. And then this will be... We'll replace this with starting point. And then I believe we need to go and... Actually, we can just leave it how it is. There's no reason to change it. Let's just leave it how it is. And then that, we'll just replace that, and then that. So that should be fine. So now we are going, when we go and move the cube, first what we're doing is we are looking for the starting point on our level game object, or level transform prefab thing, whatever it's called. And then we are positioning it once we've got that. So let's go and try and see if this works. So, okay, so there we have it. So now our cube is being repositioned whenever we start the game. So we can pretty much put this wherever we want. We can put this at like 1, like what is that? Whatever number that is. And then as soon as we play the game, it goes and pops it in the correct location. So that's fine. I'm just going to reset this back to 0. And that, I believe, is pretty much it for today's episode. So that is... What are we at? 16 minutes? Well, I mean, it's not too bad. So we fixed our cube position. So whenever we go and launch, well, not launch, but whenever we go and instantiate a new level into our game, depending on if it has a starting point attached to the level itself, it should put the cube in the correct location, which is perfect. So now we don't have to worry about positioning cubes in our levels anymore. So that's pretty much it for today's episode. So in tomorrow's episode, we will start working on the main menu of the game, because I have an idea where I want the main menu to actually be the game scene itself, but kind of like zoomed out. So we're going to have the maze itself, the first level of the maze or the game, rotating slowly, and as soon as you press play, it's going to kind of like zoom into the first level so that you can start playing it. So that's what we're going to be working on tomorrow. We'll see how far we can get with that. I've never done it before, so it might not work, it might work. Let's learn some new things together. But yeah, that's it for today. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode. So goodbye.